This video production involves varied circumstances. First, I'm going to mention there was a response to my video on finishing, putting finishes, waterproofing, on Sinew backed bows. And Tightwad Todd, who I'm honored that Todd watches my videos because he has a J. Massey connection, and mentioned the Massey finish. And you can actually, and what it is taking 2 ton epoxy, mixing it down with acetone, and it makes as liquidy as you want, reducing the viscosity, and it makes a nice thin finish. I can't imagine anything being more waterproof than that, you know, this runny epoxy over the Sinew. I would caution you, do not use that same finish, the acetone mixing down the epoxy on rawhide back bows. Now, Sinew being, I'm going to just say it, it's stronger, probably the strongest natural substance you can find besides spiderweb silk. Stronger than rawhide, but most importantly, if you have a rawhide backed bow and you have a Sinew backed bow that's fully cured, and you put something on it, it's not going to absorb. This stuff will absorb the thinned down epoxy and make it as brittle as a tortilla chip. The only time I had a failure of one of my bows that was rawhide backed was when I was experimenting with the Massey finish on rawhide. And it was 45-pound bow, rawhide backed, in a decent thickness of rawhide. Drew it back, snap, before I made it halfway through, and that was not a failure in the wood. It wasn't a failure in the rawhide. It was because of that epoxy soaked into the rawhide and made it completely brittle. And so that is that. Now on to Sinew, and I have to make this video. I have to before my glue pot gets warm, because then I wouldn't be able to show you what I'm up to. You may remember this bow. This was the one that was going to be my bow, and it still is going to be my bow, but it was just a self Mollegabet bow, my talisman style, that I decided I wanted to keep because it's cool. It had the black dye here, and I had the painted bind rune and the little ice crystal thingies right here and right here. But I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I've always wanted to Sinew back one of my talisman bows. Why not? Now, I had 2 episodes of greasing and waxing. This was as greasy and waxy as you could possibly get. Heating it over the stove, letting the grease just soak into it. When it cools, it sucks it in. Do it again. Followed up with beeswax. This was one slimy bow, one greasy, waxy bow. Not very conducive to Sinew backing. But I first just dishwashing detergent, you know, cleaned it off as best I could, and then hit it with highly alkaline wash, Red Devil Eye. If you're going to do that, research it, be very careful, rubber gloves, goggles, the whole 9 yards. But that not only washes it, it washes the color of the wood, it changes the color. Look at this, this looks like some artifact that was dragged out of a bog. Soapifies whatever grease is left in it, and makes it so you can Sinew back it. Makes it so the glue will absorb. The grease is gone. The grease is 100% gone in this thing. And I like it the way it reacts with different woods. With oaks, it's kind of a greenish, grayish, brownish cast. If you do it on Osage orange, it reacts, it washes the orange off of it and changes it. In some cases, turns it kind of darker, and it's an interesting little exercise in chemistry and reactions. But this will be Sinew back. Okay, let's talk the philosophy of Sinew backing. First I'm going to mention, there was a question asked to me several times. It's like, have you ever recurved a Mollegabet bow? I'm going to demonstrate something here. Why I wouldn't. Although I have these channels in these tips that would, you know, theoretically the string would wrap in, and if you went beyond just it was recurved to a point where the string just lays on it, so there's no danger of it passing by the tip, you know, after you release the arrow, if you just have it this way. I wouldn't do it because these are 66-inch tip-to-tip bows, but look at that. Look at the bend. This one on the bottom, oh, this is what you want to see, just nice curve throughout, distributing the forces. I wouldn't have it bend through the handle because I've experimented with my 66-inch paddle bows, bent through the handle, and talk about hand shock. It's like an earthquake. And so I like a stiff handle. But the bend, I'm taking advantage of every bit of bend I can get. And so when it's braced, forget drawing it. You know, it's not unreasonable. This is a nice bit of pre-stress. You have to stress your bows to make them work right, make them work well. But this is enough. This is enough pre-stress. But contrast it with this thing. This has the bend of one of my paddle bows after it's been drawn 12 inches. You know, look at this. This is enough pre-stress on this. This is 44 inches between my thumb and my other thumb. Isn't that enough? Pre-stressing this bow. If I was to recurve these, it would bring it in, it would be like a horn bow, where I would need the added oomph of a horn belly and sinew on the back. This is enough. And so I'm taking this 44-inch bow, I'm calling it a 44-inch bow even though it is 66, because it's putting that bend in there. It's a 44-inch bow with these spiky little ends on it. That is enough. That is enough. Now, as far as sinew backing, taking this one, taking this one. Oh, I'm a rich man. Look at what I have in my hands. Is that I would not sinew back this one. I would have to have a sinew there, pardon me, all the way up here. This is long. This is, you know, relatively wide. It's a lot of sinew. And because of the degree of bend in this stuff, to have a protective layer, really the rawhide works as far as lightness and protection, balancing it. This, on the other hand, I only need to sinew back a 44-inch bow and maybe bring it up a skinny little thing right here, which isn't going to appreciably add weight, but I'm going to get a lot of benefit from the sinew in this 44-inch section, you know. And because of the amount of bend in here, more bend, I'm going to have a tighter bend radius per given draw length than that paddle bow. That sinew is going to have, say, more of a chance to add some added zip, and then in conjunction with these little levers here, I think we're good. As far as the amount of sinew, I got a frog in my throat. I simply plant that right there. And with a thin wide bow, this stuff is going to be really effective. It's going to be more effective on this thin wide bow as far as building reflex and making it back bend more than a narrow, thicker bow. It'll have an easier chance working. And so I simply, using my scientific method, I'm not going to weigh it. Boy, I'm clumsy this morning. Side by side, 1, 2, 3. And I don't need to, when I'm calculating it in my highly complex method, overlap, because when it gets wet it'll stretch. So that is that. And then there's a little bit of slop factor. One layer on this. You know, figured it'll be plenty. And it might be so when it shrinks, you'll see a little bit of wood through there, but that doesn't matter. It'll still be a nice sinew layer. I don't plan on painting it. I don't plan on dyeing it. You may be able to see the remnants of the pattern through there, which would be nifty, but this is just going to be like this primitive living creature looking bow. And I don't know. I think that it shall work out nicely. I think this is going to be my super talisman. What kind of finish will I use on it? I'm in Michigan. If I'm going to keep it myself, I don't need to have the ultimate protection of the Massey. Plus, I'm not really a fan of epoxy. I don't really want to use any epoxy. I may just leave it blank, not finish it at all. Again, I don't have like incredible amounts of humidity here. If I go out, if I'm playing with it, it gets rained on, just bring it back into the house, let it dry out, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Would I grease it? Now, this is a special case of a bow where I might have the pattern on this. If I was to do the sinew and then bring it in here and then around, that would be one thing. But I don't know. I don't know yet, so don't hold me to it. I might just have perfectly straight going up here and then just ending right here at the heel. Doesn't really matter. The only danger would be if it peeled up, which it's not going to. It doesn't need to, follow the curves. It could just end here. And if I was to just do that, ending it there, I wouldn't grease it because there's a possibility something might lift up, so I need to repair it. If I use Helmsman Spar-Urethane varnish or Minwax Ultimate Floor Finish, which I don't use, Mike Yancey uses that on his bows. He has to make them bulletproof. He sells bows, so if the bows go out his door, they need to last. And so he's found that Minwax Ultimate Floor Finish works for that. It would stick that down, so I wouldn't need to worry about it. I'm not going to go any further down that train line because it's just kind of going in circles and then thinking about stuff and analyzing it and using an old computer up here. You don't need to be involved in that mess. Anyway, two little bows need a home, sir. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you gleaned a little bit of information out of this modest production.